Alright guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new PNSO release. As always, they're just always pounding out amazing figure after amazing figure, and we are continuing on today with more Tyrannosaurs, as we've had quite a few lately. We have Tristan the Gorgosaurus, and this one's really cool because, again, it's another one of those Tyrannosaurs we don't get too many figures of, but just generally it's a species that I think a lot of people have been wishing PNSO would make for quite some time, and we now officially have one. You can see the box art looks beautiful as it always does. We've got the nice white backdrop, the image there of the Gorgosaurus, and then of course the PNSO logo and the species name. Then up here on the top of the box you can again see the figure as well as the PNSO name, and every life deserves your respect, which is absolutely true. And then if we turn it to the side, you've got another shot of the dinosaur over there, and a little bit of information on that side, and then if you turn it around you can see both sides are pretty much the same thing when it comes to the Gorgosaurus. So let's pop it out of the box and check it out. First of all, we've got the stand that we usually get with our PNSO releases. We also have a poster, and I'm very intrigued to see what we've got on the poster. We always get these super cool posters nowadays with PNSO releases, so we'll pull that back. Oh, this time we've got ourselves a little dino toy photography, and you can now see exactly what we are looking at here. A little bit of a glare, of course, on it, but you can see again it's an image of the figure itself pretty much, and it's standing out in a very, very cool sort of a mountainous, barren terrain, and it looks absolutely phenomenal, as it always does. Love these posters that they include, whether it's kind of like some dino toy photography like we have here, or just generally the artwork created by PNSO. It's always awesome. And we've also got the booklet, and you usually get one of these booklets with a PNSO release, which always includes some pretty cool dino toy photography, but on top of that you also get all sorts of other images. You can see these really cool kind of like hand-drawn images. You can see back here there's an image of the skull here of the Gorgosaurus on a different page. There you go, you can now see that. And of course, as you move through, you'll have all kinds of information and imagery here of the dinosaur. All kinds of really cool stuff in here. Love these books, love the fact that they are included, and I definitely recommend reading them, as I always do. And then, here is our Gorgosaurus itself, and that is absolutely beautiful. That actually might be one of the best paint schemes and paint applications I've seen on a PNSO figure, and honestly they continue to improve all the time, but at this point in time I almost feel like PNSO might be untouchable when it comes to the paint apps of their figures. They have just been on such a roll with some of the best looking models they've ever produced, and that is exactly what we have here with this Gorgosaurus. That is as striking but naturalistic and just generally overall beautiful as I've ever seen any Tyrannosaur species in figure form. So what we need to do now is jump to a closer look at this absolutely awesome Gorgosaurus from PNSO. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see we've got an awesome looking head sculpt here for our Gorgosaurus. Really nice looking, as well as some beautiful paint apps. I love these bluish tones that you see in the face. Very nice touch on the part of PNSO, just to add that flashy coloration up there in the face, but pretty much the entire body, honestly, is quite flashy. You can see, again, we've got quite a bit of color variation as you move through the face. You've got some darker tones there in the eye socket. You've got some darker tones as you lead up toward the tip of the snout and following along the jawline. You can also see we've got some really, really nice sort of reddish, almost like red-orangish tones here, moving along the upper part of the head there in the crest and everything. That looks really beautiful. There's also a nice light wash within the darker tones there in the snout. That's something that PNSO often does, and I really like that as well. Just adding a little more depth and realism to the paint job. You can see we've got some brownish tones here on the lower jaw, as well as, again, a darker tone running along the jawline, which looks really nice. We've got a yellow for the eye, nice black pupil. That is absolutely as perfectly placed as it gets. You can see we have, if I can get it open, an articulated jaw for our Gorgosaurus, which is always fun. You can see the inside of the mouth is painted with some nice pinkish tones. There is some variation of pinkish tones in there. You can see alternate like lighter and darker shades. We can also see that the tongue is sculpted out very nicely. And I'm always blown away by this part, but look at the detail on the inside of the mouth on the upper side of this Gorgosaurus. That is awesome. Again, it honestly doesn't get better when it comes to the detailing on the inside of the mouth of a figure, I think, than PNSO. Absolutely phenomenal. You can also see a nice kind of a glossy shine for the inside of the mouth, giving it that realistic wet look. You can see all of the teeth are sculpted very nicely. We've got some white tones for the teeth, and they look pretty good as well. No sloppiness or anything as far as that paintwork goes. We can get a nice look at what the other side of the head looks like. The texturing of the skin looks really good. You can see as you move up into like the palate and everything, we have like really nice fine skin texture. It looks great. We can see the ear back here as well as you lead to the back of the head. We'll close that jaw. And then as you lead up here to the top, you can see we've got a darker tone of color, a very dark brown that begins in the top of the head and leads down the course of the back of the neck, pretty much overtaking the back of the neck. But as you move down here, you can see we've got some really nice light tones of color, and then we continue to have that dark brown where we stripe down here leading from the head. You've also got another stripe down there a little bit further, and the way that those darker tones and lighter tones play off of each other is brilliance, honestly, when it comes to this paint scheme. It just looks so good because of the way that they've utilized the lighter and darker tones. As you move down the neck, though, you can see all sorts of really nice skin detail. You've got skin creasing, skin wrinkling, and everything all over the place. Also a darker variation of a brown here on the underside, and I wouldn't say a dark tone, but definitely an alternate tone from what we see up here. Really nice looking tone of brown, but you can also see like lighter tones, kind of like a khaki sort of tone creeping through here and there as well, which you do see show back up here in the stomach region. But it looks really good. You can see the paintwork again continues to look absolutely phenomenal. And one thing they've done here that I really love that they often do is use that super subtle dark wash to highlight the detail and just bring the dinosaur to life in the best way possible. I really hope they continue to do that on every figure moving forward, because it is just such a really cool realistic touch and adds so much to the paint job, honestly, just so much realism. As you move down here into the arms, you can see the arms are held into the body in a very nice naturalistic position. You can also see that the arms darken to a variation of brown, kind of similar to the brown that we see here moving along the top. You can also see the nails are painted with a black. They look very nice. As you move up into the stomach region, you can see all sorts of skin detail as far as wrinkles and folds and stuff. You can also see that we transition again from those lighter tones to a darker variation of a brown here in the stomach region, similar to what we see here on the underside. And that's pretty cool because you don't often see that. You usually see darker tones on the upper body, lighter tones on the underside, whereas we kind of have that flip-flopped with this one, and I think that looks really neat. You can continue to see that we have that striping effect moving through, which looks awesome. Love, again, the design of this paint scheme. All kinds of skin wrinkles and stuff here in front of the thigh. You can make out the hip bone up here. And again, all kinds of really nice skin detail moving down the course of the thigh, more striping. That dark wash is present. We also have that other variation of brown here moving along the back of the thigh, where you can see all kinds of skin wrinkles again. You've got a nice big bulging calf muscle, and you can see as we move down the course of the front of the leg, we start to pick up on the darker brown again right above the knee. And as we move down, you can see it almost overtakes the leg moving into the shin. But as we continue to move further, we actually transition to a grayish tone, which is something we often see on the Tyrannosaurs from PNSO. And similar to what we saw on the face, you can see we have a nice light wash in the foot of the dinosaur within those grayish tones, and that looks awesome because that's something that you'll often see on modern day birds, especially when it comes to like emus and stuff like that. So it gives it a very realistic feel, if you ask me, especially with such a bird-like foot sculpt. And you can see as you move down, the detailing again looks super realistic, really well done. Nice scoots down the front of the foot, down into the toes. Obviously our Gorgosaurus is like about to take a step, or maybe it's about to put its foot down, but you can see the toes there are kind of just barely touching the ground, and they as well are painted again as far as the nails go with that nice black tone of color. As you move back up, you can see the skin stretching here off of the tail because of that leg moving forward like that. And you can also see that we have, again, that striping effect moving out. And rather than kind of just having sporadic stripes all over the place, we now have this striping effect that just runs out through the course of the tail. Looks really nice, looking very striking again in comparison to that lighter tone. And you can really see that dark wash and how nice it absolutely amps up the paint job of this figure. Super smooth transition as well as you move down to that brown from the underside, and you can again see we've got a really nice curve in the tail. Nothing super sharp or unrealistic, just a nice very slight naturalistic curve to the tail. As you move along the underside, again the variation of color looks awesome. You've got the cloaca back here, and again I love the fact that we have this brownish tone, but you also see a lighter tone here creeping through the underside here and And there on the underside of the Gorgosaurus, and you can see as we continue to move through, it looks beautiful here on the underside of this dinosaur. And then if we turn it around, you can see that the Gorgosaurus has its head facing away from us, so it does have a right leaning turn to the neck and head, also in a downward position. You can see the skin is definitely stretching a little bit more than we saw on the other side, a little more creasing on the other side, and that's pretty much what I would expect to see. Move back a little further into the body, you can see the arms are pretty much held in the same spot. The only big time difference on this side compared to the initial side is the fact that the leg is trailing a bit more here, so you can really see a little bit more of the stomach region. Same style of paintwork and everything though. You can see again we've got the skin stretching off of the stomach with the leg and the positioning of that leg, but you have more really nice skin wrinkles and skin detail as you move up through the course of the front of the thigh leading into the stomach. And again, this foot is planted, whereas the other foot is kind of picking up or setting down from the ground there. This foot is just nice and flat on the ground. Really, again, nice sculpt and paint. No matter where you look in this figure, it is honestly a masterpiece when it comes to both the sculpt and paint. And then you lead back out again through the course of the tail with that super cool striping. So this is absolutely an incredible release, and honestly, I don't know that I could argue that this would be my favorite from their Tyrannosaurs so far. There's just something so beautiful about this paint scheme and the sculpt, the positioning of the dinosaur. Everything about this is as top-notch as it honestly can get. As far as a size goes, for a length on our Gorgosaurus, you're looking at about 10.5 inches, or just shy of about 27 centimeters, maybe closer to 26.5. For a height, you're looking at about 3 3/4 inches, maybe approaching 4, or around 9.5 centimeters, approaching 10 centimeters, but not quite there. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our PNSO Gorgosaurus, and you can see again it's pretty similar in size to the last few Tyrannosaurs we've had, which is kind of to be expected. And to further show you that for another comparison, there is the Safari Ltd Tyrannus, so if you happen to have that figure, you can see again that the Gorgosaurus is a bit larger than the Tyrannus. We've also got ourselves a Mattel Velociraptor here, standing in for a comparison next to our Gorgosaurus. Continuing with just totally random figures, we have the Diabloceratops from Schleich as well next to the Gorgosaurus. We also have the PNSO Daspletosaurus here next to the Gorgosaurus, and you can definitely see that these two are very, very similar in size. As well as the PNSO Albertosaurus, which you can see is a little bit bigger than our Gorgosaurus, but not too far off. And then finally a comparison next to the Lithronax, which you can see is definitely a little bit bulkier than our Gorgosaurus, but not too far off in length or height. So this brand new PNSO Gorgosaurus is absolutely awesome and is just yet another incredible Tyrannosaur in their recent string of amazing Tyrannosaur releases, and they've really been covering all of the top Tyrannosaurs so far. I'll be very intrigued to see what they make, following this. I'm hoping they kind of move to some Spinosaur species at some point, or similar species like that. Like, I would love to see, like, an Irritator or something made by PNSO. That would be awesome. But this Gorgosaurus, again, is just another incredible release when it comes to their recent string of Tyrannosaurs, as I said before. The sculpt is absolutely phenomenal, and I love the pose of it, as it's just kind of walking along, but at the same time, if you open the mouth, it kind of looks like maybe it's taking a step forward to go for like a kill shot and take down a meal, so you kind of can create a nice peaceful walking pose, or sort of a ferocious pose, which is definitely good when it comes to, dino toy photography or just display options on your shelf, so that's definitely a plus. But as you move through the course of the model itself, on top of the nice pose, the fine detail is out of this world, as it always is when it comes to a PNSO release. I don't know that any company impresses me the way that PNSO does when it comes to their fine detail, because they have some of the best detailing that I've ever seen on any dinosaur figure. On top of that, the paint apps are always top-notch. They have been for a very long time. I would honestly say I think PNSO is leading the charge when it comes to paint apps currently. I don't know that there's anybody out there that can touch them when it comes to just how naturalistic and realistic their paint jobs look. And yet again, we have that same case here for the Gorgosaurus. It looks gorgeous, and the way that they've painted this with the lighter tones and that darker striping is just so flashy but so natural and looks so unbelievably good on the figure. I can definitely say that it's one of my favorite paint jobs and paint schemes I've seen come from PNSO so far, and then using that nice little area of blue in the face was just like the icing on the cake for this paint job. So when it comes to a Gorgosaurus, I really don't see you finding any better than this one out there. Not just currently, but into the future as well. I just don't see anybody touching this because it is just that good. So if you are interested in picking this up, I will include a link in the description to exactly where you can do that. So make sure you check that link. Definitely pick up this Gorgosaurus. It is beyond worth it. And like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.